Hey guys, welcome to another video on the Inside Spurs Show. Happy Tuesday morning. Hope everyone's okay. Hope everyone's all right. I hope everyone's having a good start to the week. Who's not having a good start to the week is obviously Spurs. We'll be talking about Vicario's long-term injury and what that might mean and what's really come out since that injury, really, in terms of transfer situation surrounding the keeper, basically. Obviously, we were talking about some new interest in a new player, Toure. You'll see what I mean when I talk about that when I get to it. As well as that, obviously doing the loan roundup because there is loads of great stuff coming out of the loan week. This is probably the best week in terms of the loan roundup that we have done this season, in my opinion. There's been loads of good stuff, loads of goal scorers, clean sheets, all sorts. You see what I mean when I get to it. So if you're watching this, subscribe. You're very much welcome to join us for the journey. Morning, Spurs, mate. How are we? Morning, Adiz. Just what you wanted, another injury. Well, yeah, we'll talk about it. Morning, Jazz. How are you, mate? You're right. So look, let's talk about the Vicario situation because, well, it's the most pressing of all the situations we have going on right now. So if you aren't aware, then you may have lived under a rock for a little while. Vicario has fractured his ankle. Now, looking at this, he actually, really weirdly, I don't know how he did it, but he actually played 60 minutes with a fractured ankle against Manchester City. 60, not 1-6, 6-0. So this guy knew that he had done it way before half time, or it at least hurt himself way before half time. And the fact that he still kept the clean sheet, he made save after save after save. Warrior. Now, a lot of people are like, God, why is he playing through that injury? If you've ever done like a serious injury, then you know adrenaline kicks in. And adrenaline can last a little while. And, when you're moving about and maybe, Vic wasn't crazy busy in the second half. So it wasn't like he was having to use his feet too much. But, it's one of those that you just try and play through the pain. You think, it's a bit of maybe it's a twisted ankle, maybe it's a bruised ankle. We'll play through it. We'll get by. But to play with a fractured ankle, you've got to be a bit of a monster, especially when you play football and you're on your feet the whole time, Morning, Baz, mate. How are you? How long's he out for? I'll tell you in a second. RE, no. Morning, Warren. How are you, mate? Morning, Adventurous. Yeah, so look, when we look at the situation, I was doing a bit of research into how long a fractured ankle can last. And it really varies from anywhere from 6 weeks to 12 weeks. So, 12 weeks being 3 months. That's what they say on average. Now, look, when you're a professional athlete, and especially in at least football or at least a sport where there's a lot of money, you're tended to very, very well. And maybe that speeds up the rehab process of a long-term injury. But they did also say it could last up to 6 months. And when we look at 6 months, that's pretty much the season. So we need to have an idea that, look, this could be something that ends his season. It doesn't mean it will, but we have to be aware that it could get to that point. Now, he might be back in late January, in 2 months' time. But it could be longer. So at least we're somewhat aware and somewhat realizing the situation and the severity of it. And I said on Twitter, of all the injuries that we were to get, and the one that's going to mean the most, this is the one. You can live without a centre-back. You can live without a striker. You can live without a left mid, a right back, or a left back. Losing your number one keeper is just awful. It's just awful. People giving, obviously, what happens from there. People slagging off Fraser Forster like it's his fault. Obviously, hilarious. But the irony to this is he was kept in the Europa League squad. There's a thumbs up for you. He was kept in the Europa League squad. So now, ironically, he's going to be used quite heavily in the Europa League. So, the irony to that is it's somehow it worked out in that regard. But, I was thinking, Brandon Austin got given a long-term contract. Surely there was a player mind to think he's usable. He's at least serviceable. I'm not saying he has to be the world's best keeper, but he has to be somewhat all right to get given a long-term deal to stay at Spurs. If Fraser Forster is probably the number 2, right? So if Fraser Forster is going to be playing in the Premier League, then I want to see Brandon Austin in the Europa League. At least try, see something, see what you have there, because none of us know if he's good or bad. None of us know. Pre-season, I don't really take too much from when it comes to keepers, especially when you see some of the keepers and they face about 3 shots. You don't really truly know. Stem cells therapy helps recovery quickly. Most American footballers get this done for a quick recovery. Yeah, I'm not sure what he's had surgery already. Vicario has had surgery already, so we don't know what the situation is there. That's 20 games at least. We'll need to sign in Jan if Foster no good. Any hope in our young goalies? We've got loads of good young goalies. Gunter, like I said, Brandon Austin, we don't truly know. Alfie Whiteman, I'm going to be coming to Josh Keeley in the loan roundup in a minute because there's a lot of good, solid youngsters that we have goalkeeper wise. Morning, Sonia. How are you? What Spurs looking at a goalkeeper summer? Well, look, I'm going to be talking about the going forward. Weber a tight fracture, the only feasible fracture he could stand on / tip of the long bone joint. Weber BC higher up, leg should have torn his ankle to shreds playing. Well, we'll have to see. Fraser Forster, big man. What's he got? Huge hands like a frying pan. Absolutely. Well, look, from set pieces, you can't bully a Fraser Forster because he's bigger than every player on the bloody pitch. So at least that's the one thing you can hang your hat on. But look, that's that on Fraser Forster. When we talk about going forward, Alistair Gold said in early November that Spurs were thinking about looking at goalkeepers in the January market. I think Spurs have to be in the January market now. The Mail Sport, I think it was Matt Law, have said that Spurs, even though they're already considering it, Spurs are somewhat stunned and surprised by the severity of the injury, the fact that it needed surgery so quickly. And, they thought he'd shaken off it was a knock, it was a bruised ankle sort of thing. They were surprised by the fact that it was a fractured ankle and the fact he did play on. And he did it in the first half. But yeah, he reckons Spurs will be in the market now for a keeper. And I think Spurs have to be in the market for a keeper, or they have utmost faith in one of the youngsters coming through. If they don't, and then I'm an R in, just go and get a keeper. Do not think, we might be all right. Or Vic's not going to be too far away, because the amount of times we say this player's not too far away ends up being 3-4 more weeks. And if you do that, your season could be completely over. You've got the EFL Cup against Manchester United in December. I think it's about 3, maybe 4 weeks' time. Okay. You've then got the Europa League, where we should still have enough to get through the Europa League league phase, by the way. We shouldn't be worried. We should still beat Roma on Thursday. We should still beat Elfsborg at home. That would be enough. You don't have to worry about Hoffenheim and Rangers, who are not having great seasons. But regardless, we should be okay. Well, the FA Cup starts in January as well. You've still got the league phase where, you're sitting in 6th, you're 4 points behind second. You really can't sit there and think, got to trim those wages. We've got might have investment coming in. No. Do not nuke this season for extra few quid. Do not do that. The season is somewhat in the balance. And if we can get to January, and let's say we do get past Man United, and, we are still, let's say within 4 or 5 points of the top 4, you're in a great position because you should be through the Europa. You still got the FA Cup. You're in the EFL Cup still. I don't actually know when the next round is after the Man United game. And you're still fighting for top 4. That's where you go, right, we've got a season here that we could have a very good one. We could still be in the hunt for Champions League spots. We're still in 3 competitions in terms of cups. We need to be fighting on all fronts. We need to go get a keeper. We can't risk hoping Vic will be back. We need to go and get them, okay? Depressed Andy. Try not to be, Sonia. Good evening, Andy, and all. Glad to be listening to you live after 3 months away. Percival, how you been? How was the trip? Kelleher in January. I see this, Kelleher, but ignore the thumbs up. I don't know why I keeps doing it. Kelleher, I've seen this thing about Kelleher. I'm gonna be really nice to Spurs here. Why would he trade the backup Liverpool role for the backup Spurs role? Why would he? Would you? If you weren't a Spurs fan, would you? Champions League football. Alisson seems to get injured fairly frequently, so you're going to get good minutes. I wouldn't bother. I'd stay there. You might even be able to use a Spurs link to get yourself a better contract and more money. I wouldn't bother. Do we know during what instant injury might have happened? It might have been the Savio in collision, yeah. Who's out there? Look, in terms of free agents, you're looking at someone like Keylor Navas, but he's a bit older. And reality was he wasn't brilliant at Forest. He was good when he was at Real Madrid. He lost his position at PSG. I don't think there's any interest there. It's a difficult one, really, because you're not any backup keeper for one of the big boys isn't going to want to help Spurs. So you're probably looking abroad, and I really don't know. The thing is with the abroad thing is you've got this data system at Spurs. Johan Lang now needs to be ramping up the hunt for a keeper. Because by the way, I've said all along he deserved at least a couple of windows to get himself going. He had a decent, January. I didn't really judge him on because it's January. He only just came in. This summer he did well on the outgoings. Incomings we'll have to wait and see on those. This is a January transfer window that he will be judged, Johan Lang, and he needs to deliver this January. He needs to deliver defenders. He needs to deliver a goalkeeper, because if he doesn't, then 2 and 2 plus 2 equals 4. You're nuking our season. You know, I might be wrong, but Kobe wasn't happy at Dortmund. Could we loan him? I couldn't tell you, mate. We got a problem with the Europa squad if we sign a non-English keeper. Well, the Europa squad's difficult because some people were saying, well, because Vicario's gone now, you know, is that a way for Spence to be in there? Or if we move off Reguilon, we could put Spence in there. Reguilon's not in the Europa squad, and Vic wouldn't help putting Spence in. You need academy trained to put players in. And that's not including players like Mikey Moore, because they've not got at least 3 years. So the only two really are Kyle Walker-Peters and Marcus Edwards. They're the only two. And I don't see us going for either of those. Although I have watched Kyle Walker-Peters this season. I have been impressed, especially because he's been playing left back and he's actually looked really good link-up play-wise. But I don't see either of those, especially if Southampton are in a relegation battle. Marcus Edwards would be probably more feasible one, but they've got a new manager in there. They might like him. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's going to change too much in terms of the European squad or Winks, Andy. No way. No way. All I'm going to say is, I'm not saying he was an issue when it came to former managers, but you remember we used to have reports coming out that the players didn't like Mourinho and the players didn't like Nuno and the players didn't like Conte. All I'm going to say is Harry Winks has fallen out with Steve Cooper at Leicester. So I'm going to put 2 and 2 together and probably say he might have been a slight issue at Spurs as well. No, thanks. No, thanks. I know you're joking, by the way, Luke. I know, but I wouldn't want Harry Winks back at this club with a 20-foot pole. I wouldn't want it. Don't want him anywhere near us. See, there's that on Vic. Quick loan roundup because I got it here, and then I'll come back to Toure. I'm just going to spend about 30 seconds on each player. So we're going to whiz through this. Leeds United 4-3 win away to Swansea. Last-minute winner from Wilfred Gnonto. Manor Solomon scoring 2 in this game was a big part of why they won. So fair play to Manor Solomon. You know, he started. He played big minutes. He scored a brace. Brilliant. I mean, Leeds right now, Leeds are sitting top of the Championship on goal difference to Sunderland and Sheffield United. So really good for Leeds, and the fact that, you know, Manor's contributing. Happy days. Leyton Orient Flavoured News, Josh Keeley, keeper. We could talk about Josh Keeley even. He kept a clean sheet for Leyton Orient away to Stevenage Town. That's a good result for Leyton Orient. They're sitting, I think, a place above the relegation zone by 3 points. Stevenage are in mid-table, so it's a good draw away from home to Stevenage. And Josh Keeley's been playing frequent minutes, so happy days on that. Get Luna in on a short loan. I don't think Luna will be leaving Real Madrid, you know. I doubt it. Although, yeah, weirder things have happened. Espanyol against Girona. So this is Brian Hill and Alejo Veliz news. Girona won 4-1. Alejo Veliz substituting in the 64th minute. Struggling probably a little bit for form at the moment, but Espanyol not exactly. I mean, Espanyol had 24% possession, so they're not exactly free-flowing football. But on Brian Hill, Brian played just over 70 minutes and scored the opener as well. So really happy for Brian. Brian back in the Spanish squad as well. So look, when it comes to moving off of maybe a player in the summer, Brian Hill might fetch us a few quid. Barnsley Flavoured News, just quickly. Matthew Craig didn't play in this game. He's not played very many minutes recently for Barnsley, which is a bit of a concern. They lost 1-0 at home to Wigan, who were near towards the relegation zone. So Barnsley, that was a bad loss for them. You know, get Matthew Craig back in the team. Oxford United, Dane Scarlett did score in their 6-2 loss at home to Middlesbrough. Not great. Not great. But look, he's scoring goals. So it's not on him that they're shipping 6. They're only 2 points above the relegation zone. I mean, the relegation zone, 15 points, all the way up to 11th. So we're talking 11 places are separated by 5 points, which is bonkers. And that's what the Championship is. So if you don't know what the Championship's like, get to know it. Stoke City, 1-1 draw away to QPR. They were 1-0 up until Ben Gibson, the centre-back, had an own goal. Ashley Phillips did play the full 90, looking like a bit of a Rolls Royce down at Stoke City. So happy days on Ashley Phillips. Get Joe Hart out of retirement. Jesus. Give Forster a chance. Let him play. He will play. Don't worry. Butland at Rangers is a chance in January if Forster doesn't cut the mustard. Jack Butland's a weird one. I always thought he was going to go on to be a really great keeper. You know? Such a shame, really, because he obviously had that with that Germany friendly. We won 3-2, and he was brilliant in that game, but injured in that game, and it just sort of fell off a little bit. Notts County 0-0 draw at home to Newport. Bad result for Notts County, and Newport are towards the relegation zone. Notts County fighting for automatic promotion. Still, they're only a point behind, but Crewe do have a game in hand, and Walsall in second have 2 games in hand. But Abbott did play the full 90. He's having a great loan spell. Just from my friend Roberto, Johnny Cardoso still out injured, didn't play for Betis in their 4-2 loss. Bargain for Brian Hill. Well, we'll have to see about Brian Hill. I tripped off the curb at a Spurs game, went to get through the COVID checkpoint, and not almost 2 years later, I'm still in pain my ankle. Yeah, no, honestly. Ivan, obviously, try and get that sorted, my friend. But like, it is genuine. Ankles are such a horrific thing to try and rehab. Now, obviously, unlike you and I, Ivan, Vicario has a medical team that will work around 24 hours around him, trying to get it back to full fitness as quickly as possible. But you've got to be patient with these things. These things sometimes will take as long as they need. If Butland started at Rangers, wouldn't he be resistance coming and then potentially being relegated as number 2 when Vic recovers? Potentially, but then if you say to Butland, look, we're going to play in the Cups and you're going to get 20 games a season, it's not the worst thing. But then obviously, if he's played for Rangers in the Europa, he won't play for us in the Europa. And also, again, that doesn't help our Europa squad spots. So, look, like I said, if Gunter, Whiteman, Austin, hell, or even Josh Keeley, one of them you're happy with and you like, you play one of them and see what you got. I hope, I actually do. I get Forster playing Thursday because you do want to win and you want to get him some reps ahead of obviously playing Fulham at the weekend. But part of me also goes, why don't we see what Austin's got? Why don't we see what Whiteman's got? I think Austin's probably ahead of Whiteman, but why don't we see what he's got? Because actually, if Forster gets injured, we're going to need to see what he has because he's going to be playing. If Forster was to miss a game between now and January, you need to see what you've got. So I hope to see Austin personally, but it depends on whether Vicario is due back. I still think they're looking at a keeper anyway, Luke. So, and I want to finish off with some really great news out in Belgium. 4-0 win for Westerlo. Obviously, Vuskovic played the full 90, kept clean sheet, but more importantly, Alfie Devine gets a double to win in that game. He scored the first one and he scored the second one to make it 2-0. Westerlo, good win for Westerlo. They really needed a bit of a clean sheet and they needed an emphatic win, which they did get. I mean, they're sitting 1 point behind 6th, which is obviously Europa spots, I think it is. Might be conference, I don't know. But, I mean, they're only 5 points behind 4th. So, lots to play for in that season for them. But, yeah, good news out in Belgium for those two lads. I'm really happy that Alfie's obviously done well there. Right. I want to talk about this article. I just want to bring up his stats before I do it so I don't look like a complete fool. This is coming from Florian Plettenberg. Now, if you don't know who this guy is, I'll tell you about him. So Florian Plettenberg saying that we've been told that Arsenal and Tottenham are monitoring Bazumana. I think I've said that right. Bazumana Toure. Leverkusen, Leipzig and Wolfsburg are also interested in the 18-year-old from Hammarby. Basically, he has a contract until the summer of 2028. Hammarby, if you don't know who Hammarby are, obviously they're not exactly a top 5 league out in Sweden, I believe it is. Yeah, it is Sweden. It is the top tier. I'm not looking like a complete idiot for everyone then. He is a left winger mostly, but can play on the right. I mean, his transfer market value around about 6 million euros. He's played 23 times in the Swedish top league with 9 goals, 4 assists. So at the age of 18, that's a pretty good return. So he'll be 19 in March. So a few months away, he'll be 19. Really talented winger, really explosive, direct, all those things that you want from a winger he does have. Now, there's an issue here that I get where some people are going to be unhappy with. Yang's coming. He's another youngster. Mikey, another youngster. Odegaard, another youngster. Where is the ready-to-go guy? And I think for the next 5 weeks, between now and obviously the January transfer window, we've got an interesting situation with Timo. Now, Leipzig have the power to reject us wanting to send him back. They have the ability to do that. We obviously have another 5 weeks to see what he does actually offer us. Now, let's be real. If he turns out for the next 5 weeks to absolutely rock everyone's mind, everyone's going to go, all right, Timo, we're happy for him to stay. If he stinks up the gaff for another 5 weeks, we're going to be like, right, we need to get him out of this somehow. Because again, it's a squad spot, especially for Europe. You know, you could replace him with a Jed Spence, for example. But if you were to move off of, let's say you moved off a team, let's say Timo went, let's say worst comes to worst, he goes, you know, he doesn't set the world alight, and he was to leave in January. You then obviously have Reguilon, which I think we all expect Reguilon to move. I don't think that's shocking for anyone. Reguilon will move as well. So you've got 2 Premier League squad spots that you can easily replace, okay? Timo's also in the Europe spot. So if Timo is to move, maybe Yang becomes part of that Europe squad, right? Wait. Odegaard is part of the Europe squad. I think Odegaard will get removed from Europe squad. And even if he comes back this season, he'll play just in the Prem and any cup competitions domestically. I think Yang will take his place in the Europe squad, and they might bring another one in if Werner was to leave. That makes a lot more sense. Or you say, actually, we'll give Werner's spot to Spence. That's the way it could work, right? I think that's fair enough. How long is Vic out? Vic can be out for up to about 6 months, but it'll be anywhere between 6 and 12 weeks, most likely. Vicario is the only player we can't really cover. Agreed, Tottenham logic. We are finished when we will face Chelsea. 12-0 win Spurs, don't worry about it. Hasn't Yang arrived now? We'll do in a few weeks. It'll be later in December. About mid-December, they reckon he'll be here. This club's motto should be dare not to have backups. Hey, Don, how are you? Fractured heels faster than a broken bone, but it's a squad game. So whomever takes Venom's space has to step up. Just everyone has to within the team. Look, it's next man up mentality when it comes to any position in the team, regardless if it's a keeper or a striker or anything in between. It's a next man up mentality. And we should get behind Fraser Forster to say, go on, go out there and do what we've seen Fraser do countless times across his career. Fantastic shot stopper. And he is. Like, people harp on about the penalty shoot against Fulham. It's like, okay, it's a penalty shootout. But he kept us within that game. We were awful that game, and he made so many saves. He's made so many saves against so many teams. Even in Europe this season, we saw it. What was the game at home? It's going to bug me. It might have been Karabag. Is it Karabag? Or was it Azen Alkmaar? I think it was Karabag. I think it was Karabag where he was phenomenal and made countless saves. So he still has the ability. Now, yes, look, we shouldn't hang our hat on him being brilliant all throughout the season because he is a backup. He's a bit older, but he has the ability still to be great. So we need to get behind him. Thanks, Donna. What player would knock back the Premier League to stay in Scotland? If you're good enough, you'll back yourself to beat out Vic to be the starter. Well, Butland has the ability to be good. He does. Jed Spence for the Europe squad. We sold or loaned at about 10 and bought 5-ish. This is always going to happen. Well, the players that we moved off of were players that we weren't going to use anyway. So what we didn't do was have a ready-to-go keeper. We got 2 keepers in the squads that haven't played at all. So in Austin and Whiteman, surely one of them has to be all right. I'm not expecting him to be prime Gigi Buffon, but someone to be serviceable, you know? Timo's only back up for Son. We must keep him and bring him on late in games. Well, look, you still got Mikey Moore and Odegaard. But that's what I say. Odegaard, I think, will get removed for Europe squad spot. They'll put Yang in. I swear, if they put Spence in, I'm really annoyed with that because we actually do have a shortage of attackers and we could do with keeping at least one of them in there. take Vic out of the Euro squad if he isn't playing for 6 months. Well, no, we don't know how long he can. It might be up to 6 months, but that is the worst case scenario. It can be 6 to 12 weeks. Obviously, we will be able to change the Europe squad spot in January. So we're going to be 5 weeks from now. We'll know a hell of a lot more about where Vic is on that journey. Exactly. Next man up, I'll be back in Fraser. I'll be back in Fraser as well. Andy, I'm still positive. Forster can do a job, but I'm scared of possible mistakes that he can make. I don't think shot stopper, no issues with him. Playing out from the back, we'll see. Penalties, but corners. Do you want to try and bully Fraser Forster? Because I think he might pick you up and throw you into the sands. He's an absolute monster. Forster's my kind of old-fashioned pure shot stopper. That said, he's not terrible. He's not terrible. Yeah, he's not Vic, but he's not terrible. Get Joe Hart out of retirement. Well, Ange does know him. Could get someone on like, yeah, well, look, we could, but who it's going to be, I don't know. They've got this data system. They need to use it and need to be efficient. But, you got Josh Keeley out on loan. Is that something you look at? You got Alfie. You've got Brandon. You still obviously got Fraser. You got Luca. You got loads of options there. Like I said, I just hope, maybe, hang on. Spurs fixtures. Fraser Forster, will he play away to Rangers being the Celtic man? He knows that atmosphere better than anyone other than Ange. See, I want Brandon Austin to play against Roma, but then, like I said, I get why Fraser would start against Roma because obviously he needs to get reps in ahead of Fulham at the weekend. But I'd like to see Brandon Austin playing against Roma, see what we've got there. But then they also might. This is the issue. I want to see what he's got there, but they might also go, actually, we're playing Ben Davies and Radu Dragic at centre half. We could do with having a keeper that has experience of playing in Europe because of that. So I thought Austin was our backup. No, it was always big old Fraser. I don't know why I've done that. He's from the Toon. He's not from Scotland. Keep Werner at the afterburner. Just tell him not to shoot. I tell you what, if you tell him to cross, he's not too bad. Puck nose. Yeah. Well, look, we'll see about that. But obviously, Roma, big game Thursday. Let you know, preview will be done tomorrow morning. We'll do it. I was going to do it today, but I think we'll do it tomorrow. I think we need to see what the injury situation happens. Fulham at the weekend, we'll see. But, we're now playing every 4 days. We play Thursday, we play Sunday, we play Thursday, we play Sunday. We then play Thursday, and then we play Sunday again. So we're playing Thursday, Sunday for the next few weeks. We're don't know. Let's be positive, though. Let's see what Fraser's got. I can't wait to see big old Fraser in goal. I'm going to be positive. I'm not going to be Twitter. I'm going to get behind him, and we'll see how we go. But anyway, thanks for joining me, everyone. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, morning, afternoon, evenings, wherever in the world. And I'll speak to you all very, very soon. Take care, everyone. Peace.